hard to heal trauma stored in your body if you ignore parts of yourself. So trauma in its basic form is an experience of overwhelm. There may have been times in your life, whether you remember them or not, they may have even happened pre-cognitively. It could have happened when you were in the womb or being birthed or in your childhood. You've been through experiences that you didn't have the resources to handle. Now, those experiences that are incomprehensible, that are often overwhelming, can get stuck in the body, then can keep our nervous system in a continual state of fight, flight, and freeze and overwhelm. It's sort of like we keep reliving the fear of the experience because we don't feel safe within ourselves. We don't feel safe within our bodies. And so this is often how the trauma gets stuck. And when this happens, we often experience it like we're being fragmented, like parts of us are disconnected and they're battling each other within the body. And this causes a lot of turmoil, inner conflict and tension. So in today's video, we're going to talk about this and go through how we can start to resolve this trauma, reconnect with those parts, and then start to develop more ease within you being you and ease within your body as well.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part is just to look at it, how to become aware of it, and then to really start working with those parts, because it can sometimes be, challenging. Otherwise, we wouldn't call it trauma. But it's in a way, when you understand the process, it's really easy to handle. It just needs some practice. And the more you practice, the more you will build confidence that you can do this by yourself and you don't need anyone else, only you and your body, and you can go so deep. There are no psychotherapist or someone else will get you if you just allow yourself to really heal.
Yeah, I see this a lot where we go through these traumatic things and we may not even know what's going on, or, it's a common question of like, what's wrong with me? And then we seek help, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Often what we get is just a deeper understanding of what we feel and what's happening and what's wrong with us. We can start to develop even a bit of a narrative of like, well, I feel this way because this diagnosis, because I've got PTSD, because I've got ADHD, because of all of these things. And this is not to take away from the intensity of these conditions at all. But what we're looking at here is that you are empowered through this process, that no one can take this away. No one is going to save you. And yet we can work together, of course, to what I sort of see as a practitioner is it's a sharing of resources. There's a co-regulation that can be contributed to. Not someone's going to come in and fix all your problems, going to magically release this trauma. One of the hardest things that I find, particularly when working with trauma in people's bodies, is we can release the physical imprint of the trauma, but if there are still parts that are there that are unsafe, there are beliefs there that don't believe that they can be safe, then it just keeps coming back. And this is where we need to find some sort of consolidation with these parts. So how do we do that? There's a couple of different ways that you can think about it. So first, we want to become aware, like Marcus was saying before, and identify the disconnected parts. Because if we go forward and we don't really know what we're addressing, say, for example, a part of us is angry, and then another part of us, I can relate to this, feels ashamed about being angry. I had this a lot because my father was very angry, and I had in my mind, there was a part of me that started to say, don't be like him. So every time I would encounter anger, either with another or with myself, I would start to feel like more and more shut down. And then another part came up. I would then start to feel more and more angry and enraged and frustrated because of that feeling of shutdown. So I developed this other part that was encompassing all of them, which was like calm Benny. And so I developed this alter ego in a way to protect myself, that so I didn't have to feel the anger. So I didn't have to acknowledge that I was afraid of my own father, that I was a scared little boy, so there were things. So once I started to identify that was actually very liberating to see, oh, okay, you were scared and you're still feeling the remnants of that when you connect with this state of emotion, this part. So then we can start to see that. And then the next part, we allow it to be felt in the body. And when we do this, then as those feelings arise, we're no longer pushing them away or trying to distract ourselves from them or avoid them. We actually are able to process them somatically, which builds capacity so that then the next time similar feelings might come up, we start to have more resources. We start to see, oh, I can face this. I'm no longer little child that was defenseless in that situation. And I now have some resources to face this, to feel this, to see this, and to see those parts of me that weren't seen, felt, heard, or acknowledged. This is what's happening as we work with it. We then, next part is we learn about compassion. We start to embody compassion to those parts of ourselves that were hurt, that were wounded, that were overwhelmed. We start to develop ourselves more compassionately. And then we want to energize the body, because healing, going through all these processes, it can consume some energy as we're working with it. So if we identify the parts, allow them to be felt in the body, embody compassion, and energize the body, we've really got everything that we need to start to process trauma and start to shift from a place of disconnection and overwhelm to a space of liberation and freedom, and heal those wounds that may have been inflicted and held from childhood. So we're going to go through a practice in a moment to give you an experience of this. And just as we do, is there any other parts of this that you find helpful, Marcus?
Yeah, I just described many situations I reflected for myself. And what was also helpful for me to just put the question in a way, okay, what's underneath this emotion on the surface? What's underneath it? This was helpful on my journey, and in a way it was in a similar situation than you were with aggression, because underneath this aggression there was sadness, shame, and feeling guilty, and all those things were never be seen. And yeah, this was very challenging, but in the moment I was able to see it was a very liberating moment and opened up so many new possibilities. Yeah, that's maybe just a little add-on from my personal experience.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And we've all been through these things. That's the thing. And my question as we go into this practice is, do we want to process the past, the things that we're holding on to, so we can move forward freely, or do we want to keep living in them? And it may be a little bit uncomfortable as these things rise to the surface that we haven't wanted to face, or haven't felt like we could face them, or didn't know that it was even possible. And I'd like to encourage and just start this practice with a question of, what might it be like if you were free from this? If you were free to be you, if you were free to feel how you feel, if you were free to be seen, if you were free to be acknowledged, if you were free to exist. Now, as I bring up that question, it may bring up some grief as we even consider the things that we're holding. And that's very natural. Just know that this too shall pass. So to start this practice, first we're going to identify some disconnected parts. And we can do that with two questions. So first, just as you're noticing your body, as we've been talking about past traumas and things that we're holding on to in our body, it's no doubt that you may have some things that are rising to the surface that are there. Now just notice, you can have your eyes open or closed, what is happening right now. So ask yourself that question, what is happening for me now? You may notice sensations in your body. It might be a tightness in your chest, or your diaphragm, your breathing may feel restricted. You may notice certain emotions that are rising up, certain thoughts are there. We're going to connect with them now with the question, what do I think, feel, or believe about what is happening right now? So for me, when I first started going into this tough process, I believed that my body was a problem. My body feels restricted because it's against me. Boom. I exposed and identified a part of me that is in resistance to what I'm feeling in my body. A belief that I should feel something different. And so first we ask these two questions. What is happening? This is the pure experience of what is happening. And then what do I think, feel, or believe about this? Now the space between that's where our resistance is to the present moment. And that's what stops us from healing, because we're trying to be over there. This is where the disconnection and the fragmentation happens. So now we're going to go into a somatic practice to help bring us into the present moment and to allow what's within the body to process a little bit. At any time you need, you can just look around the room and just notice that you are completely safe, and you can practice what I would call conscious disconnection from the feeling, where you could look at something that you like, smell something that is pleasant to you, engage in something that is a pleasant, positive experience. And so then we've got some contrast between working with what's there in the body rather than just trying to dive in head first. So we're going to keep just dipping our toe in, moving in and out. So just bring your hands onto your chest. So you can keep asking that question, what's happening? What do I believe about this? A common belief that can come up when we're even connecting with the body is, I believe I'm going to be stuck like this, or I believe this is going to get worse, or I believe I'm going to be stuck in this overwhelm. So why face it? Now, we don't need to try and change these beliefs. You could ask a third question. What would make this awesome? Could it be the experience that you've overcome this? You've realized your deeper inner strength, that you can overcome challenges and challenging circumstances and emerge stronger than before. That it connects you with your heart, with your humanity. Often the most inspiring people I've ever met are the ones that have moved through the darkest shadows in life. They've moved through this darkness and the pain and have emerged far lighter than before, because they understand that this is part of being human. We go through tremendous things. And so to these parts that have been holding on, that have been believing that they'd be stuck this way forever. We can start to speak with them compassionately. And say, I'm so sorry you, and then fill in the blank. So if I were to speak to those parts of myself from my childhood, I'm so sorry you were afraid. And feel free, you can repeat after me as we're doing this practice. I'm so sorry you were helpless. I'm so sorry you had to calm yourself down or things would get worse. I'm so sorry you had to be the parent. I'm so sorry you had to take on all that responsibility. I'm so sorry it was too much to hold. Just keep breathing with your hands on your heart. And just let your awareness keep resting into this space. Whatever parts keep arising and emerging, a simple mantra that we can have is, I'm completely here with you now. Your mind may keep bringing up things, almost in a way as, don't forget this. It can be a fear that if we forget this, then it'll happen again. Which isn't really true. It's just a way to keep us safe. We can keep affirming the knowing that we survived these experiences. And here we are now. And continue to affirm who you are now. Start to see yourself, see all of these parts for what they are, as allies that were and are there to keep you safe. And you can navigate them consciously now. You no longer need to be locked and held in that past version of yourself. Your body no longer needs to be victim to all of those experiences that happened. So just let your breath just move. And we're going to just start to upregulate the breathing just a little bit now. Just help bring some energy into your body. Taking one more breath. Slowly exhale, and we're going to hold at the bottom. And as we do this, we're just going to gently pat around the chest, around the diaphragm, around the lungs, around the abdomen. And just return to your natural breath. Resting your hands now down on your abdomen. Feeling yourself seated or standing or laying on whatever you're laying on, whatever you're seated on, or whatever you're standing on. Feel that supporting you. Bring your awareness down into the lower center, into your lower abdomen. Feeling this sense of stability and support. Connecting with this sense of power within you. So you can repeat this process anytime you notice that there are parts of you that are in conflict. It can support them to be seen and heard and felt and acknowledged rather than to be judged and to try and fix them and to try and change them. This can allow them to be seen, allow what's the result of them moving around and the energy that they create within your body, allow that to move and allow the intelligence of your body that's there with you all along to continue to support you to heal. Everything that you need is here right now. And we're practicing connecting with that. So this small process is part of a bigger framework that we share in Movement Plus. This is part of what I would call connection-based practices, where we're looking at parts of ourselves that are disconnected and we're reconnecting with them, gathering them back in so that we can feel a sense of wholeness again. This is part of a bigger framework where we focus on connecting, breathing, mobilizing, and cultivating a sense of cultivating our life, cultivating our body, cultivating ourselves. And I find that when we work on these 4 pillars, then we start to move down a path that would be like a peaceful warrior. We start to become stronger within ourselves, within our body, start to move more freely because we're holding on to less tension, and really be prepared for whatever comes in life, to move forward compassionately. And that's the goal of these practices, to move forward with more lightness rather than carrying that heavy baggage that we can tend to carry for on and on until it can turn into something worse. So to see you inside the platform and join us on the journey. And thanks for being with us in this video today.
Bye.